Tonight, the golden years of television goes into overdrive. I'm up here, high with excitement, looking down on a television feast we've brought up from the archives. There's I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball generation, the delightfully weird, kooky and spooky Addams Family, with a memorable Where Are They Now from Gomez. And as nothing succeeds like excess, I've also tracked down the star and producer of the new Dobie Family. Their pets were lethal, their family retainers were barely human, and so the song says they were creepy and kooky. But we loved them. Why? Because aside from their slight eccentricities, they were a great family who used to stick it into all the stitched-up establishment figures who crossed their paths. There was Gomez, Morticia, their children, Pugsley and Wednesday, relatives, Uncle Fester and Grandma and Cousin It, and butler Lurch, as well as general help around the house, Thing. And that's not to mention assorted pets. Now, how many remember the name of Morticia's African strangler, Pugsley's octopus, or Wednesday's black widow spider? They were all very classical names. They were Cleopatra, Aristotle, and Homer. And the family feline was Kitty Cat, a lion. Sadly, many of the stars of the show are now dead, but John Aston lives. Despite a long and successful career in which he's done many things, including writing and producing, he's still best remembered as Gomez. A little while ago, I got a terrific opportunity to speak to him, and I asked him if it was a happy group to work with.
Yeah, it was. We enjoyed one another, and we, beyond that, we had, well, you know, some people would sort of get together off camera, and others would, you know, the little groups and so on, but that was the personal aspect of it. When we were working, everyone in the show had such a respect professionally for the other that there was real harmony on the show. And you know, following the show, I think my relationships with some of the cast members developed even further. And I know Jackie Coogan and Ted Cassidy and certainly Carolyn Jones and I were all very close friends.
Unfortunately, of course, they're no longer with us.
No. I did a lot of eulogies.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you know, what about your children, Pugsley and Wednesday, Lisa, Lauren, Ken Weatherwatt?
Lisa is, you know, by now, of course, an adult and a very beautiful woman and an actress. And she was playing a popular character on one of our soap operas here, and has a daughter who is also beautiful. And Ken Weatherwax, who played Pugsley, is a grip in Hollywood, works on crews.
Right.
And I run into Ken every once in a while at work.
A sort of father and son reunion.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I have to ask, and this is the question we all want to know, who was Thing?
Who was Thing? I'm not going to tell you. No, no. Actually, Thing was played by Ted Cassidy, who did Lurch.
I see, because there's been a raging debate about Thing.
Once in a great while, someone else sort of stood in for Thing. You know, how do you stand in for Thing? But that was a rare occurrence. Only when Lurch and Thing appeared in the same shot did someone
you have to have a double
hand in for Thing. But Ted was wonderful in that role. In fact, there were times, I think, when he got every bit as much pleasure doing Thing as he did playing Lurch. In fact, sometimes more. Once he confessed to me, you know, he said, I enjoy doing that so much. Sometimes I think I like it more than I like Lurch.
You've acted in the classics, yet again and again people want to talk to you about the Addams Family. Does that strike you as ironic that you've done this whole body of work, yet this is the one that people go back to?
We knew when we were doing it that we had we had a show of some value. I think we sort of bridged the gap from generation to generation. It was a show, in one sense, sophisticated enough for adults, and yet there was enough of the obvious humor to appeal to the children. Or maybe it was the other way around.
Batman was camp in the 60s sense. It was really a satire. So too is one family presently enjoying a revival, the Addams family. By the way, Morticia's little pet was called Cleopatra. The years have thinned out the ranks of the Addams family. Lurch, Grandma, Morticia and Uncle Fester are all gone. But last month I met up with John Aston, Gomez, Lisa Loring, Wednesday, and Ken Weatherwax, Pugsley. Lisa, who now has her own 14-year-old daughter, was only 5 and a half when she won the role of Wednesday.
I didn't even know how to read yet.
So how did you learn the lines?
Well, that's an interesting story that David Levy recalled to me when I met with him years later. He didn't have any idea. It was a cattle call of about 75 girls between my age and 13. And he had no idea that he was seeing children who didn't even know how to read yet. And I was the first, and he asked me to read it, and I said, I don't know how to read. He said, you what? But my hair was very, very long, and I had little white gloves and a black patent bag, and was very articulate at that age. And he said, all right, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. He read the lines to me, telling me the different characters, and he said, now I'm going to do this again. After he went through it the first time, he says, then the next time, remember, you're Wednesday. The second time he was going to do it, I just came back with the lines. I was just brought to the set by my mother or my grandmother, and went to the 3 hours, was it 3 hours of school a day, and then did my work, and you know, it was a full day.
And so
what time did we start? What time did we finish? I don't remember.
What was the schooling like on the set? Was there a little sort of cabin or something off to the side where there was a school mom?
Yeah.
We had a tent in the back, couple desks in it, and we had to do 3 hours a day by the clock, whether we were, and we had to be off the set by 6, child labor laws. So we'd be there at 5:30 saying, no, the kids can't work anymore, they've got an hour of school left. Had to be out of there by 6, but still, go home at 6, read your script, read it, go to bed, get up, go to work.
Interesting story. Kenny and I, for some reason, didn't get along all the time when we were doing it. And they had to, at one point, do you remember this? They had to put up a partition between our desks so we wouldn't throw things at each other.
I remember.
Was that a constant thing, or that was just halfway through you two fell out or something?
I think it was only part of the time.
Off and on. We were pretty close. You know, all the time. It's
Like brother and sister.
Well,
exactly. At times it was a pain, you know, because you were restrained somewhat. You couldn't walk around in public. That was probably the toughest thing, is not being able to go to Five and Dime, you know, without an escort. Not so much as a surprise as a dread of not being able to really do anything, and fearing that you might be in the middle of a crowd and somebody will find out who you are, and then the next thing you know, you're running for your life. I never really was, like I said, never been very comfortable in front of a camera. Always made me nervous, but I sure liked being on the set, and I liked the people I worked with. Like they say, there's no people like show people. I just didn't fit in anywhere else, and when it came time to find a career, to figure out what the hell I was going to do with my rest of my life, I decided I wanted to get back into the business, but not in front of the camera, so I became part of the backlot crafters.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was tough for the kids, because they were, I guess their lives was really as much school as anything else. You know, we'd be, you know, having fun on the set and working away and so forth, and they were in school, and then they had to be sort of brought into that environment suddenly and deliver, you know, and the director was a stern taskmaster with the kids, and I don't think either one of them really got along with him that well, but you know, he wasn't enormously fond of kids.
Are there favorite episodes? Is there one or other? I mean, all these you speak about, but there are, and yours where you got to play Morticia, that'd obviously be a favorite.
Another one that I remember was teaching Lurch ballet.
That was fun. That whole show was fun. Yeah, yeah. I had to teach Lurch how to tango. We all tried to teach Lurch how to tango, actually. But I remember Lurch and I tangoed, and we were.
That was very
I
funny.
gave I put the rose in my mouth, and we you know, danced up stage and back, and he had it in his mouth when he came back. And that still shot from that got on the cover of Dance Magazine. Lurch and I tangoing.
No reminiscence of kids.
Had the most famous hair on television. See if you can guess who he is.
Hi, my name is Felix Sella. You probably haven't heard of me speaking before, but I played Cousin Ed on the Addams Family, and right now I'm looking for my next big job.
I do think its voice is a bit too fast for the average listener.
I never noticed that.
The Witch's Ditch is mainly full of pitch.
Ditch is mainly full of...
By Jove, I think he's got it.
Sadly, Felix has never achieved the stature he craves.
Oh, I do a lot of stunts for children's and a few commercials for McDonald's. And I just make a living. It's a job.
These days, Felix is living in the San Fernando Valley, and he's still waiting for that big break.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune.
Amazing, incredible. We leave for Hollywood tonight.
Of course, Cousin It's hair was merely a costume, but the longest recorded beard of real hair belongs to Hans